Typically, within 25 chapters of a manga, just starting out, we are just only getting the lay of the land, the heroes coming to grips with their new powers, the author's to set up a lot of story that is building up to a big payoff, typically, but not Kagurabachi. No. You see, Takeru here has done this thing with Kagurabachi that I immediately liked right out the gate from chapter 1. In the first chapter, we are given Chihiro, who's already aware of his powers. We've had a time skip. He knows how to use these powers, and he's more than capable of just simply fotherizing most of the people who walk in front of him. So naturally, when an author does this, there is only one simple thing left to do for their character. That's just make them struggle. You see, Chihiro throughout 25 chapters of Kagurabachi has fought and killed a lot of people until one dude stopped him in his tracks, and that was Sojo. And Sojo here is the complete and utter opposite of Chihiro. They're two sides to the coin, and they both represent power in two very different forms, and Takeru wants you to know this. I'm not gonna go through the whole entire story, that's a video for another day, but I think the results of Chihiro and Sojo's clash of blades and their ideology results in Chihiro here not only being effective mentally, but also physically. You see, it brings us all the way circular right now to chapter 25, the most recent chapter of Kagurabachi, where we have Chihiro, who is now lost with one arm and is defenseless to a new foe, who is not only strong, but also incredibly smart and mentally imposing. He's very smart. He's a tactile man. And that's not to say that Sojo wasn't just as smart, because he genuinely was. He wasn't, you know, Sojo was, his drive for his power was what led to him and his undoing, basically. That was what he wanted to understand, was the blades rather than collecting them the same way Kyora does. But where Kyora leads both Chihiro and Shiba right now, he leads them into this false sense of security, and he lets them believe that he wasn't actually looking for a fight. In actual fact, Kyora was actually fully prepared to fight and lose his forces in the process of collecting the enchanted swords here, which is where the main point in this video is. How often is it in a manga we are 25 chapters deep of a fresh manga and we see the main protagonist left with only one arm and no source of main power to defend themselves? He has just willingly give up his sword and he is seemingly defenseless. The answer to that question isn't very often. In fact, I'm struggling genuinely to think of any shonen manga in recent history that has done something similar here, and the only one that comes to mind is Jujutsu Kaisen. Gege did it earlier, in fact, by having Yuji become powerless to Sukuna and having Sukuna literally outright kill Yuji for a couple of chapters, and that was just to display how much Sukuna did not fucking care about Yuji, and this wasn't going to be that standard inner demon trope where they become friends, and in fact, to this day, these two still have a feud and they still fucking hate each other. It's outright exciting to see what Takeru is doing here with the manga, and I'm genuinely happy to see the fucking success of this manga, and I'm happy to see the success that it's had from the beginning. It has gone from meme to masterpiece, or maybe not masterpiece, maybe that's preemptive to call it masterpiece, but the come up has been truly insane to watch, and I, for one, I'm genuinely fully glad that I've been on board and invested since day one. Even Shiba within this chapter here finally got his showing. I mean, again, we didn't get a crazy amount from him, but the fact that Sojo wants to fight Shiba and Azumi, because he sensed just how strong they were at one point, it should have given us the info that we needed to let us know just how strong Shiba was. But Takeru's been kind of treating Shiba as if, like, you know, he's just a backup guy, and he's given us very elusive hints to, and the possibilities to, just how Shiba's powers work here and what they hold. And he almost kind of reminds me of Todo's Boogie Woogie, but without the schizophrenic episodes and delusions of grandeur, I think. I mean, unless Shiba is just walking around and he's completely tripping balls all the time. But that's, you know, something else I did really also like about this chapter is the showcase of powers that aren't sacred blades. We've happened a couple of times now with Flamebone being apparent, with Hiyuki using Flamebone against Chihiro, and now we have the Sazanami family and the ISO technique here. Even Chihiro is missing an arm right now. He was still holding his own, but I firmly believe had Shiba not teleported Soya back onto the battlefield here, Chihiro may have taken a full frontal blast from Isu straight to the noggin. And Takeru showed us in this family here that these guys, they're not pushovers. They are by no means any pushovers. In fact, Hakuri is the exception to that rule, and the biggest problem right now being the father, Kyora, who is, his sorcery allows him to summon any being or any item that is registered to this quote-unquote warehouse wherever he needs it. And during the fight, he summons his kids from the warehouse as well as weapons for them to fight. And I have no doubt in my mind that he is also capable of fighting, because the Sazanami family, as I've said, is one of the strongest families that I think we've seen so far. It's a family that is basically based on strength, and they hold the auction of the Rakuzaichi annually, I'm pretty sure, and they need to keep everyone in check. And there's a lot of players from the underground. I mean, Sojo was going to be there at one point, so we've seen the damage that Sojo can cause. So him, not only Kyora, but his children, they need to be raised from the beginning of an early age to be strong, or it's simply just get fucked in the Sazanami's world. But the result of this scuffle leads to Chihiro willingly trading the N10 blade to Kyora in exchange for the life of Hakuri, which, I can't lie, left me completely and utterly surprised. Genuinely, I genuinely was expecting, well, first of all, I wasn't expecting the plot twist of Kyora being able to summon anything, including people, through this warehouse, which is a pretty overpowered ability when you really think about it, because I'm assuming that this is an infinite space where he can just, like a pocket dimension almost. But Chihiro has fought so fucking hard to keep a hold of this blade, but when it really came down to it, when someone's life was on the line over this blade, he chose that person's life. Now, when you compare that Chihiro that we've got in chapter 25 to the Chihiro at the beginning of the series, who hit us with this absolute zinger of a line talking about waking up with a fresh hatred every morning, there's clear growth and development from his character within 25 chapters here. It may not be crazy growth, but there's definitely growth here. But it seems that there is obviously a plan in motion. Chihiro mentions it's exactly as planned, and we're showing the blade releasing water as if he's tracking it, or at least he's aware of its presence at the very least, which we've seen before. Sojo actually remotely activated Cloud Gouger when he was fighting the Kaminabi here, and if I had to guess, I would bet on this being involved with the life contract that the wielders of these blades enter into when they come into possession of the blades. However, I can genuinely see this going wrong. He has obviously just willingly gave up this sword here as this trade. It could backfire though, because let's be real here, Kyora is obviously a smart man. He's lured these two into a false sense of security, and he's completely broken their negotiations by just summoning Hakuri back to the battlefield. It's also possible that, say, Chihiro could summon the blade back to him from the warehouse, Kyora can do the exact same thing with Hakuri, and they would just be trading again. And now that the blade has entered into the warehouse, it has officially been registered into that warehouse, meaning so as long as Kyora lives, Chihiro's blade can always just be yoinked away from him, which leaves only one possibility, and that is for Kyora too. Which I'm sure Takeru will probably get us to, but he has left us in a very, very interesting position, and I'm very excited to see where this storyline goes, because it's not often that a mangaka does something like this, where they leave their main protagonist almost defenseless. I'm sure this video could be completely null and void by chapter 26, and we could see Chihiro back again, maybe even with two blades. Who fucking knows? But yeah, it's a very interesting position that Takeru has left us in here. But anyway, that's everything from me. I hope you enjoyed the chapter. Let me know what you thought of the recent Kagurabachi chapter in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing. And if you really want to help support me and keep the dream alive, consider supporting me on Patreon. That helps me keep the dream alive. But as always, I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Much fucking love. Big fucking kisses. Peace.